It's 2:36 p.m. September 19th. So my theory is a piece of this is these guys are involved with a terrorist conspiracy, and they have different ways of trying to incite and enrage people. I've explained this before to the United Nations. I think some of these guys are involved with that Las Vegas, Nevada shooting, but their intentions scream violence. They're trying to coerce violence. They're trying to coerce mass shootings. They're trying to coerce whatever they can through repeated sexual violence, repeated abuse, repeated denial of justice, repeated crime after crime after crime. They'll even commit terrorist acts and attempts of murder while impersonating people. They'll even potentially show their real face and try to coerce you to use self-defense or find them to use self-defense and then try to lure you somewhere and kill you. My theory is, I mean, these guys' intentions, I'm speaking about their intentions. They're trying to drive people to states of rage and anger to coerce mass violence. Whether they're using their little betting manipulation hustles and robbing people to enrage people and incite people, whether they're using their neurophysiological weapons to repeatedly sexually assault people covertly, shock their brains, hearts, genitals, and abuse them covertly, repeatedly. They're also using these new age neurosurgeries to damage their frontal lobe, different regions of the brain, damage their amygdala, a region of the brain associated with emotional and behavioral regulation. They're destroying the frontal lobe, a region involved with reason and logic. So what they'll do is, I guess, what they're trying to do, their intentions scream, they're trying to coerce violence, massive violence, small-scale violence, whatever violence they can achieve. But there definitely is evidence of terrorist conspiracy involved with this. It may even be considered an attempt of terrorism, I don't know. But it's at least terrorist conspiracy. So, I mean, this is what they conspired. So what they do is they sit there and assault you all day, say horrible things to you, threaten you all day, try to put you in fear of your life. And then they assault you repeatedly, trying to push you to states of rage through sexual violence and other forms of violence with their implantable technology. While at the same time, they're damaging your brain. They damage your frontal lobe, your amygdala to disrupt reason and logic, processing of information, decision making, as well as your amygdala. So they damage your amygdala and frontal lobe, reason, logic, all these things, as well as your amygdala to disrupt emotional and behavioral regulation, and then they try to push you through states of rage and anger daily, 24/7, while you're neurologically impaired. That's what they attempt. I get up and move, so I avoid some of their surgeries, but the intentions is what I'm speaking of. And it's more than obvious. If you're trying to make someone helpless, committing assault on them daily, sexually assaulting them, stealing their property, then also trying to push them daily into states of anger and rage on purpose through slander, through misrepresentation, through repeated accounts of assault, through neurophysiological torture, through repeated sexual assault, while you're trying to neurocognitively impair them. While stealing from them, impersonating people, etc. They're obviously trying to coerce violence, whether massive shootings or murder or misdirected self-defense, etc., etc. It's more than obvious. Then also these other guys who are trying to human program people to follow orders. They're clearly trying to, program people to have them follow orders, do mass shootings, murder, control some computer world or game, and then follow their orders while they control this supposed game or world. So these guys need to go to prison. It's more than terrorist conspiracy. Some of these guys are already involved in terrorism. They're already involved in terrorist conspiracy. When are these people involved with ritualistic community, sexual assault, psychological torture, sexual torture, organized crime, RICO, and terrorism, going to prison? Their intentions are obvious. They would be obvious to a 10-year-old. These guys are financing terrorism, organized crime, illegal, unethical, inhumane, unregulated human experimentation. If you're blind to what they're doing, you'd have to be crazy. Their intentions are more than obvious. They're trying to coerce violence. They're trying to coerce misdirected self-defense. They're trying to coerce mass shootings. It's more than obvious what they're doing with this technology, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're involved with that Las Vegas, Nevada shooting, because I would bring that up in 2018 or late 2018, early 2019-ish to these telepathy people. And they got really uncomfortable about it. And they get real uncomfortable. And at one point, one of these guys was even calling me their Seku. if you've ever seen Homeland. So you should find out what they meant by that. Someone should get to the bottom of that too. I always tell them to eat shit, but their shit doesn't affect me. I tell them to eat shit anyways. I just get angry, but I can control myself. I just go to YouTube and vent about these people until someone arrests them. But their intentions are screaming. Their intentions are more than obvious. How are these people involved with terrorism and terrorist conspiracy and RICO not behind bars? It is more than obvious what they're conspired and what they've attempted. Even with this Illuminati president jazz and this game and whatever else, conspiring to human program the Illuminati president in the betting mule. What do you think they conspired? Why don't you just use your brain if you're smart and analyze, okay, there's this computer gaming world that I was supposed to control that I never knew about, never saw, and they conspired to human program me thinking I'd seen it. They thought I was going to get trained with this technology, and they also conspired to human program me, and then they also conspired to human program me as the betting mule. Think about if it actually worked, if they actually got me to follow orders, which it never did. What could have happened? What were they conspiring? Terrorist conspiracy. They probably wanted to program me to learn this tech where I could implant people's hearts and kill them at a touch of a button, or get a hold of this computer game where you can hire those little mind melder people and investigators and God knows what else. I've never seen it. But there's some computer game they discuss where you can do shit. And then they were going to human program me, give me orders to follow and have me do X, Y, and Z. And then as the betting mule, they were trying to human program me to manipulate bets. And I always told them to eat shit. And that's probably the reason they got beef with me. So I've never listened to these idiots. But contemplate what these people conspired. It's terrorist conspiracy, and they're already committing acts of terrorism through intimidation and coercing civilian populations through large-scale blackmail. They're using intimidation and coercion to influence the policy of a government, such as blackmailing government officials, law enforcement, creating data nightmares. That's a form of intimidating and using intimidation and coercion to influence the policy of a government. And their data nightmares and other headaches they're creating. How are these people not behind bars? They're terrorists. It's really a no-brainer because anyone who knows who they're terrorists, who are not arresting them or reporting, will become culpable and have to go to prison for 8 years. And if they lie for them, they'd be accessories or accomplices potentially. So who's not getting their intentions? Who's not getting they're more than unfit to be in society? They're mentally unstable. They have zero respect for human life. And they just need to go to prison. No one cares if they're rich. No one cares if they're politicians' children or whatever nonsense they claim they are. They're terrorists now. And they became terrorists. And they became terrorists for money and property that was never theirs. And they threw a spoiled bitch-fit temper tantrum. They have no right to become terrorists for money and property that wasn't theirs. They have no right to become terrorists because they want something that was never theirs. Or because they couldn't have their way. Or because they got cut being frauds. They need to go to prison. Let's wake up. They're terrorists. They have no right to try to make everyone around the world fucking culpable. They have no right to endanger humanity because they couldn't have their way or wanted to steal or didn't want to be caught being frauds. They need to go to prison. This is ridiculous. It's absurd now. And the stupidity involved with this, terrorists should have been in prison a long time ago.